Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmadu wa nasalli ala Rasuli Kareem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to this series, Journey of Fiqh. Alhamdulillah, we've covered various topics related to the madhab, following a madhab, what is praiseworthy in following madhab, what is censured in regards to following madhab, and the various positions of the imams in terms of being either is a wajib or is it some say it's wajib, the usuli scholars say it's wajib, and the general majority of scholars say that it's something that is good to do or it's permissible to do, and a minority view is that it's haram to follow a madhab or a school of thought or to adhere to one. So we covered that topic, and with the history before that of the madahib and the various usul and the main personalities and so forth. We started the modern era, and of course the first stage, that part of the modern era, was the printing press, or the printing of books became common. And we covered certain types of books of ijma', books of different madahib that became easily available, and resources became easily available for the ulama, especially in the last 150 or so years. And another type of category of book that is become very widespread now and common is books of comparative fiqh. So because so many resources are easily available, then works were created to combine them into large works, encyclopedic works, to compare, and this was done historically as well. And it's very important to understand when reading a fiqh book, because there's different types of fiqh books. Am I reading the book to learn the masail according to the school? Like a fiqh book is generally free from the proofs and argumentation. One type of fiqh book is just the masail. Another one is a book of masail, but also the proofs of the rulings. Like how are they sourced from the Quran and from the Sunnah, from the Fatwa Sahaba, from the early Muslims. There's books written, a different type of category of books written about ikhtilafat, difference of opinion. Or books that are written specifically on ijma', where all the imams throughout history agree on a certain point. So they're all fiqh books, they come under the general category of fiqh, but they serve different purposes. So this is why it's very important for a student of knowledge to know what the book, before you read the book and before you engage the text, understand what that book was written for. In terms of books that gather the opinions of imams, or does comparative fiqh, there's comparison made by different positions of different madahib. So from the classic books, the Kitab al-Awsat of Ibn Mundhir is one such book, and it's considered a great book. Shaykh Aamir Bahjat says that this book is great. It doesn't mean that it's great for the first year student. It doesn't mean it's great for the new student. It's a great book, beneficial book in looking at the difference of the imams, but not everything is book, and it's great as a reference, but not necessarily as a class text, as a textbook for a class, the teacher to teach. Another book from the classic books where it records the difference of opinion. Now, a lot of what we're going to go through today is really only beneficial to the ulama. And if you don't speak Arabic or read Arabic, most of this resource will be inaccessible. But it's good to know that we understand how much effort is done in sifting through and source and structuring, and make sure that our deen is preserved, the rulings of deen are preserved, the ahkam are preserved. The second book from the old world is Wazir ibn Hubayr Rahmullah's Ikhtilaf al-Ulama, the differences of the ulama. And he points out the points of differences and agreement as well. He mentions all of them. Another famous book is Bidayat al-Mujtahid wa Nihayat al-Muqtasid, by Ibn Rushd, the grandson. There's a grandfather and the grandson. So the grandson, rahimahullah, he wrote this book. And this is a standard book in most of the Islamic universities, especially in Saudi Arabia and Madinah Islamic University. This is a class textbook. He talks about every masala, and in the masala he talks about the reason, the sabab of ikhtilaf, the reason for the ikhtilaf. There's also Al-Mughni of Ibn Qudam al-Maqdisi, which was mentioned previously among the Hanbalis. This is the most well-read book from the Hanbali book, read by non-Hanbalis. And Shaykh Abdullah Turki has done a tahqiq on it and reproduced it and checked the new version. The fifth is Sharh Kabir li Ibn Abi Umar. And there are many other books like this. These are the most well-known books in where the differences of the imams, we can do comparative fiqh. In this mazhab he says this, in this mazhab he says that. There are new books in the present era, in the current era, that are also written. So these are classics, in the present era, there are certain books that are written that are very well known among the ulama, and they're reference books. They're not course books because they're so large, and they're encyclopedic. So there's two types of ways of this is done. One is done in the form of encyclopedias. Encyclopedias are written in the form of alphabetical order, the masail. So generally, fiqh books are written with Kitab al-Tahara first and Kitab al-Salat and so forth, in a certain structure that is well known among the ulama. Tahara, because it's a condition of Salat, so it comes before that. And then within Tahara, there will be water, the rulings of water, the rulings of wudu, ghusl, etc., etc. The biggest and probably the most well-known, and Allah gave it acceptance among the ulama, and this time is Al-Mawsu' Al-Fiqhi Al-Kuwaitiyah. It's the Kuwaiti Fiqh Encyclopedia. It's a work of the recent era, and is done in alphabetical order. And if you wanted to look something, for example, look the ruling of Iqamat. So you go to Hamza, you go to Alif at the start of the encyclopedia. It's if you wanted to look for to Hajj, so you go to Ha, so it's the beginning of the book. If you want to Iqamatul Had, the establishment of establishing the Had punishment, the capital punishment. So generally that comes in the end of fiqh books, because those related to court matters, penal for capital punishment comes at the end. In this, because it's in alphabetical order, it will come at the start of the book. So, and it's a considered great work, more than 54 volumes, I believe. And it shows you the reliable position of the Hanafi fiqh, or the Shafi fiqh, or Maliki, Hanbali, and so forth, mainly the four madhahib. It has issues, it's not foolproof. And you can't study a madhab from it, but it's a good reference. And the same applies to if you can't go to, for example, Ibn Rushd, Bidayat al-Mujtahid, and say I'm going to study the Hanafi madhab because it's got the views of the Hanafi madhab in it. No, to study a madhab and a school and a structured school, it's usul and it's masail, you have to go to the books of that madhab and learn from ulama who teach that madhab school, and they know the ins and outs of that school. But these are references for the ulama. There's also Mawsu'at al-Ahkam al-Tahara. Ibn Dubayyan, he wrote an encyclopedia on Kitab al-Tahara, all the masail that was ever covered on the fiqh, the jurisprudence of Tahara, the rulings of Tahara. One encyclopedic work just on the one topic. He wrote another book on financial transactions, which he didn't finish. Another ulama, alim, Shaykh Khalid al-Mushayqih, he completed that, the last chapter of that book. There is also an encyclopedia, which it's not as common. It's al-Mawsu' al-Qada al-Mu'asara, meaning modern masail, an encyclopedia of contemporary masail. So, for example, like dry cleaning. Dry cleaning you won't find in any classic book. New modern medical masail, organ transplants, cloning, etc., etc., genetically modifying a human being, which is apparently there's claims that it's been done. Whatever the masaila, but they are current contemporary masail. Nawazil by Dr. Abdullah Al-Ghufayli, it's zakat, all the new masail related to zakat, a whole encyclopedia work just on zakat masail, but contemporary zakat masail in the modern era. So not classic, it's not talking about gold and silver coins that once upon a time existed. It's talking about how we do zakat and all the issues related to it. Like, for example, superannuation, retirement funds, how zakat will be done for that. So this is a contemporary masala. This historically didn't exist. So alhamdulillah, these encyclopedic works has teams and teams of ulama that are working hard to make sure that the ummah always has an answer, has always, alhamdulillah, we are not left with our guidance. So another aspect of this era, or specific to this era, is fiqh councils. There are two international level well-known fiqh council. One is of the fiqh academy in Jeddah, which has ulama from all over the world, from all countries, and who participate in that. That was created by the Organization of Islamic Countries, OIC. And you have Muslim World League, Rabit al-Alam Islami in Saudi Arabia, and that also has its own decisions and so forth that it makes on contemporary masail. So these fiqh councils have ulama, they produce works, they make decisions. They also mention which ulama abstained, which ulama did not accept it. So they take sort of like a majoritarian view on the masala. senior ulama will get together, like Mufti Taqi Saab and the Mufti Saudi and other ulama, they'll get together and they will elaborate on a masala, and those once they disagree, their disagreement will be noted, but a decision will be made on contemporary masail. And then their work is also reproduced in magazines, journals, and in book forms are made available to the ulama, and the ins and outs of that, the discussions and so forth are made available. The third aspect of this era, the fourth aspect, so you've got the printing of books being made easily available, the encyclopedias, and also fiqh councils, and next is the creation of fiqh journals. So these journals are created, these are put out, especially in Muslim countries, from great institutions like Azhar and Saudi Arabia, different organizations. And for example, in the subcontinent, you'll find that the Darul Ulooms, the very large Darul Ulooms like Darul Karachi or Darul Deoband and so forth, they also produce their own books, journals, monthly journals, discussing, and they have what their setup is, but they have Darul Iftaz or ulama appointed in them, there are researchers in there who deal with, and questions are sent, and they research and provide answers to the community. Also in this time and age, of course, there's the fiqh websites, which are very accessible. Previously, to get the consensus or view of the ulama from other parts of the world was difficult. To know what the alim on the other side of the world is thinking, or what he has said about an issue, it's just that we have a lot more Muslims now, but we can actually find out what the senior ulama around the world, their opinion is very quickly, just on a WhatsApp message or even an email, we can find out what their views are on an issue. So websites have made knowledge of fiqh extremely accessible. Another feature of this era is the claim to reform fiqh, reformation of fiqh or change fiqh. The times have moved on. This is the claim, and the call has been made. We'll talk about this, and this is an unwarranted call because the fiqh itself is so broad that it can handle all the various, and it has until now. And as time is going, those masail are not getting more, they're becoming less. We've dealt with a large amount of the masail that have come due to the Industrial Revolution. Most of the masail have been dealt with. New masail are coming in, and mashallah, these institutes are set up now, and they're dealing with as they come. So that we will talk about that claim of renewal or reform of fiqh in a later session. Also, the feature of this age is the excessive masail. As I mentioned, that due to the Industrial Revolution and colonialism, the world changed a lot. So that created a lot of new masail. However, as Imam Shafi rahimahullah says, that for the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing happens to the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his life. No event or thing that he does, except that the book of Allah will provide guidance and clarification for that. So the deen, it cannot be that Allah leaves us without guidance. But it is the Ahlullah, it is the people of Allah, it is the ulama that fear Allah, that will look into the depths of the Quran and Sunnah and understand the contemporary issue in light of that, and provide an answer that does not contradict the Quran and Sunnah. So this, alhamdulillah, this is something that is a continuous process, because new things will always happen. And excessive masail, new masail, for example, you'll not find in classical books about recycled water, or praying in an aeroplane, or touching a Quran on a smartphone. The masail are limitless, but alhamdulillah, all of these masail are dealt with, and because fiqh deals with the actions of the slave, deals with reality and what's happening in the life of the Muslim. Another feature of this era is the establishment of centers of research, and ulama get together in an association or organization set up where discussions take place, such as the Markaz Tamayuz Bahthi, like in Saudi Arabia, where they discuss specifically only contemporary masail. Also, furthermore, establishment of faculties of Sharia in universities, within universities, Islamic or otherwise, like in Kuwait University or Madinah University, faculties specifically dedicated to Sharia and fiqh studies, where people specialize in fiqh studies, and within that, research is done, and people are doing their PhDs and so forth, and they're researching new masail to find an answer. However, Shaykh Aamir Bahjat at the end, he noted something. He said that himself is a PhD, so it's got a dal. They put a little dal dot, which means doctor. So he said he entered the university as a humble, a jahil mutawadi', a humble ignoramus. And the person then exits the university as a jahil mutakabbir. He exits as a arrogant or a jahil doctor. He entered as a humble ignoramus, and he exits as ignoramus who's got now a PhD or doctor attached to his name. He said that the way we do ilm, remember these degrees and shahadat. He was giving advice to the students of knowledge that degrees are irrelevant. Ilm is that you fear Allah in your house, in your private life, and also in public as well. Other than that is not ilm. Ilm is only that you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are some of the efforts, just summarizing it, some of the efforts that the ulama, huge efforts actually, there's thousands and thousands of ulama involved in this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them the best of rewards on behalf of the ummah. Their works, their contributions is what we benefit from today. That alhamdulillah as Muslim we have guidance, we have advice, and that we don't spend any of our time in the disobedience of Allah, and that they can provide guidance in all aspects of our life in which we can please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the advices Shaykh Aamir Bahjat gave to the students of knowledge was that not to study some of these works, especially when it comes to contemporary masail or some of the masail books. Definitely books should never be studied by themselves without a teacher. We would never study surgery in our backyard or watch YouTube videos and try to conduct surgery. No matter how many videos we watch, nobody's going to let you do surgery on them. That's a matter of life and death in this dunya. Our deen is a matter of akhirah. That's why it's always not advised, it's a must that people should learn knowledge from reliable and God-fearing ulama, inshallah. That they should search out ulama and learn from them, so that we don't go astray. Because by doing that, in your deen, if we play with our deen like that, and we entrust our deen and akhirah in people that are not fit for it or not qualified, or we try to do it self-medicate, then we will destroy our life, and we destroy our life of the hereafter as well. Deen is easy, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has orders in the Quran that if you don't know, ask the people that know. Ask the people of remembrance, which refers to the ulama or the God-fearing ulama. Hence, to do self-medication is not permissible in dunya. Also, it's not permissible in deen as well. Also, another advice that Shaykh Aamir Bahjat gave, that people say it's good to read. You got to read the ikhtilaf. You got to read the ijma' books. You got to read the fiqh books. You got to read the usul books. You got to read the modern masail books. Then, like he said, yeah. So your whole life is spent in ilm. He goes, all of these are good. You just have to prioritize them. Which aspect of this is needed the most, and you work through all of them. But fiqh has so many facets and so many fields within it, and so many different types and variety of books in it, that you can spend your whole life in it, and you're supposed to spend your whole life in it. So therefore he said, all of these are good. Because which one is good? No, they're all good, and they're all to be read and all to be benefit from. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding and tawfiq to practice what we say in here. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.